grief. So this sounds strange. So Andrew is addicted to porn, loves prostitutes, loves having sex with many women at once. I also hear that he's addicted to Call of Duty, the computer game, and he will spend all day sat in front of the TV just playing that. Tell me more about Andrew the man, or the man-child in this case.
Yeah, well, he is a man-child. He's never really grown up. He's a man who, even as a child, I mean, had no boundaries, no discipline. He knew he could get away with anything, and that's what's happened all through his life. You know, he was seen, I mean, when I talk to school friends, they talk about him as an accident waiting to happen. He was a bully. He loves to humiliate people. He loves to, you know, because he knows they can't do anything back. He's very juvenile. I mean, he likes playing practical jokes on people, very up himself in terms of status. Everyone has to bow to him, to call him sir. He's not very nice to his staff. No one likes working for him. He's lazy, and he'll get people to sort of come up 3 floors to open the curtains for him, or to he will get rid of people because he doesn't like the look of them because they wear a nylon shirt or they have a mole on their face. You know, and he's been allowed to get away with it. That's what's so extraordinary. And there are cases, for example, if he gets irritated and the gates wouldn't open, for example, at, I think, Royal Lodge, he rammed them, causing £80,000 worth of damage, which, of course, we, the taxpayer, have to pay, all covered up. When people try to complain, they said that the complaint would have to come from someone who was involved. He got police protection officers to take the rap for speeding offences he did. He would try and lose the police officers by speeding up and then coming off the motorway, really making their job difficult. He'd ask them to go and, playing golf, he would ask them to go and pick up his golf balls after he teed down the field. I mean, the guy is, you know, you wouldn't believe it from the 15th century.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's got to be a bit of a change. He's always had extensive staff. But yeah, he's just been completely entitled, pompous. There's a sort of master of the universe element. You know, that we've seen that email with Epstein. He claimed to, he's a congenital lie, he claimed he'd stopped contact with him in December 2010. We've got the correspondence in 2011 with Epstein saying, let's play a bit more. He's just shameless in the way he operates. And, you know, it's good that he's finally being held to account, and I hope he really is held to account rather than some fudge like normal.
Yeah, but he just sounds like such a petulant little man. How is he going to cope in the quote-unquote real world? He's not going to be living in a terraced house in Birmingham now, but if him and Fergie, whether they move abroad, whether they go to Sandringham, how's he going to cope with that, having all these staff at his beck and call?
Well, I mean, Fergie has abandoned him. He's lost his attraction now. He's no longer in Royal Lodge and a prince. And she's going to do her own thing. She's kind of going to, it's a bit like Meghan and Harry, lots and lots of parallels there. So I don't know where she goes. She may go to Switzerland. I think she may, you know, go quietly somewhere in London, keep low for a while. But I think she'll be back. She'll find some scam she can do. And Andrew, for the moment, he's going to Sandringham. But clearly, if charges are levelled at him, he may have to do what Juan Carlos of Spain did, which was to go to Dubai. And I think there's no extradition treaty there. But if he goes to Abu Dhabi, which is where he's been gifted a palace, I mean, he'll have staff, he'll have every whim catered for, no press scrutiny. So, I mean, he'll love it. And even in Sandringham, there will be staff clearly brought from the big house. He's not going to go and do his shopping at Lidl. Well,
who's going to hang around with? Who are his friends? Does he have any friends? Are people close to him sticking by him, apart from the royal family? Does he have just actual school friends still who are going to, or people from the Navy who are going to say, Andrew, it's okay, come around here?
I think he has surprisingly few friends. That was what struck me as I went through it. I mean, he was a bit of a loner. People don't like him. They keep their distance. So he has his normal shooting weekends. He has these friends he does shooting with. He has a few school friends, a man called Charlie Butter, people like that. But they're not many people. But in some ways, he likes, you know, he's used to his own company. You know, as you say, he loves just watching videos. He's not a man of great intellectual hinterland, but he's obsessed with watching planes land, technical things. He loves, you know, he reads camera manuals for fun.
Okay.
And he still gets his massages, which he likes the sound of country music. He used to have a little Indian yogi who came to him, which the Queen was paying for. Prince Charles said he wouldn't pay for it any longer. Mm-hmm. But he goes and has what's called air baths, where he goes and stands by open windows and breathes in. He goes riding, plays golf, goes shooting. The life of a retired gentleman, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to Sarah Ferguson in a bit more detail now. I'm told Epstein had 18 phone numbers for her.
Yes, more phone numbers for her than for Andrew. It's 16 for him. She was regularly staying at Epstein's properties. She would have seen what was going on there, lots and lots of pictures of naked girls and things. Uh-huh. So she's a material witness to what went on. She should make herself available to the FBI. And she's kind of gone under the radar because everything's been focused on Andrew and Jeffrey. Mm-hmm. But she certainly knows a lot. And it's slightly ironic, shall we say, given that she's made her career as a champion of supporting trafficked women and as a children's writer. Mm-hmm. And of course now she's been caught out that in one hand she publicly disowned him, but while secretly actually was saying he was her dear friend and let's continue. And I found evidence, which isn't in the book, but I can reveal it here for you, that she was still staying in Epstein's flats in 2013 and 14, long after she said she'd cut off contact.
Wow, that's an exclusive.
All for you.
Thank you very much. Tell me about Fergie's wild spending. I've heard many rumours about her going on holiday with 18 suitcases. Half of them are empty, so she can fill them with clothes on the way back. Some of them have just got coat hangers in. Going to hotels and not paying the bill and leaving after a few days.
Yeah, with 53 suitcases, one just for
53. Good grief.
And she'd have two cars, one for the luggage and one for her, going to the airport. But you're absolutely right. She was shameless in just going to hotels and just expecting to get it for free and just leaving without paying. Her publisher said that when he did pay for some accommodation on one of her publicity trips at a very expensive hotel, and then found that she'd also given them the room service bill, which was higher than actually the cost of the accommodation. He said she certainly knows her vintages. But even she borrowed £100,000 from a woman called Lily Marty, who's now the Dowager Duchess of Marlborough, and said she would pay it back, and in fact only paid back £5,000. And that was just to pay for a sort of 2-week holiday in the south of France, where she had 12 phone lines installed. She brought her own cook. She was ordering wanted a roast suckling pig, ordered I think 4 for a party that night. She was opening bottles of Montreuil Poulichet, very expensive wine, and then not drinking them. She would sometimes get the staff to bake 3 different meals because she couldn't decide what she wanted to eat, and then go out to eat or have some kettle chips. Wow. She was sending assistants on Concorde just to deliver a letter. She had employed someone just to wrap up presents. She had a little Portuguese couple whose job was to go around picking up dog poo. This was the world of Marie Antoinette.
How does someone become like that?
Well, that's a good question. Paul Burrell says that she basically was let into the sweetie shop and went wild. And I think she just has no sense of any boundaries, moral or otherwise. And, she's what she calls a people pleaser. She was constantly looking to make people like her. And one of the ways she does that is being very generous and giving presents. She has no sense of how to control a budget. Money came quite easily after she got divorced and began to promote things. Mm-hmm. Her first live-in boyfriend was a man called Paddy McNally, who was a multimillionaire from autosports. And so she got used to turning left on planes, staying in 5-star hotels. Stupid people gave her freebies and upgrades, and they gave them to her family as well, and the family's friends.
So how bad is this for the monarchy now? Can this eventually just blow over? Are people going to forget about this in a few months' time, or do you think this is a seismic change?
I think it's a seismic change. I think the royal family, we've never before had a situation like this with a member of the royal family basically being cut loose, as they have done, and with the possibility of criminal charges being brought, with accusations of financial corruption supported by the institution itself, by senior royals, and the monarch turning a blind eye. And people are now beginning to ask questions about the Duchy of Lancaster and Cornwall about the deals that are done for Crown Estate property. And so, we've now got politicians who are calling for more parliamentary scrutiny. We've got the Public Affairs Committee looking at things. So I think the genie is out of the bottle, and they're going to have to make some concessions. The monarchy is our most protected institution. I mean, it's almost unique in the way that we're not allowed to even show any scrutiny. And I think unless they show a bit more accountability and transparency, then there will be a revolution.
What role did William play in Andrew's downfall, if we can even call it that?
I think William played a crucial role. I think he's been trying to do this for years. He could see the reputational damage. Charles, who's very sentimental towards his younger brother, just couldn't really grasp the nettle here. And I think Kate was also involved, and I think Camilla. It's interesting that she's on that statement that was made last week. So I think they all kind of came to him, the men in white coats, and said, look, it's time that you deal with this. And it's no good Andrew putting out statements denying these allegations when it's quite clear the evidence is overwhelming against him on a whole series of factors. And if you don't take action, you've got all these editorials in the papers, you've got all the social media, even in papers like the Telegraph and the Times and the Express, appalled by the way they've been allowed to get away with this financial corruption.
Yeah. Going back to the book, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be asking how much work has gone into this, because it sounds like this has taken you years and years of effort to put in for this.
Yeah, I mean, most royal books, I'm afraid, are just cuttings jobs. And I mean, this was 4 years of research. I approached 3,000 people. I got 300 to talk, a lot of them on the record, which is very unusual. I put in FOI requests. So I think it's everything is sourced, often it has to be double sourced. And, it's coming not from a sort of tabloid hack, but from, I hope, a serious historian who's not... who's a monarchist, who's not out, has got no agenda. In fact, I had a meeting with Sarah Ferguson, who was my wife knew as a child, and whose mother was at school with my mother-in-law, to say, look, I want to give you a fair hearing. If you want to cooperate, get your friends to talk to me, I'll give you a chance to put your side of the story. And she decided not to do that. In fact, told people not to talk to me. And in fact sent legal letters to my publishers. They threatened me, saying they were monitoring my social media. Pressure was basically, threats were made, intimidation, to kind of put me off the story. But of course, all it did was encourage me.
Isn't it strange that anyone has that kind of power in this country to silence people who are just trying to find the truth?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think as a historian, what's concerning me is that so much of our history is censored, from documents that are destroyed or never made public, to people shutting down with legal cases, the famous slaps. There's been a chilling effect on publishers and journalists, I think, in the last few years, because rich and powerful people can tie them up in litigation. I've experienced it myself. I had it with trying to get access to the private diaries and letters of Lord and Lady Mountbatten, letters which were actually very innocent, but were useful for me as their biographer. The public paid, I think, in the end, about £5 million for these to be made public, and yet they were not made available. And I won basically a ruling from the Information Commissioner, who is the sort of ombudsman for freedom of information, and the government challenged that in an appeal. The ICO didn't really challenge that case in the appeal. I decided that I would do so, even though my book had come out, because I thought it was a public duty that this stuff should be made available. We paid for it, and I was told I would win the case, which we did. But I was also told I would also get my costs, and I basically ran up £500,000 of legal costs, and I wasn't given my costs. They actually changed the judge at the last minute in the case, and I had to remortgage my house. I had to basically sell quite a lot of my assets, and so it feels gratifying that not only is justice being brought to the victims of these appalling crimes, but also I'm now in a position to pay off the mortgage finally in my 60s.
Yeah. God, well done. Well done. You got resistance from Fergie, some from Andrew, presumably. Any from the palace?
No, the palace keep very quiet. I mean, they operate through cutouts. They do things behind the scenes. So it's always very subtle. But you'll find, for example, as I say, that they'll feed stories to papers. They will. They've got tame historians who they feed material to, who can be trusted on to kind of do bad reviews, for example. So they have all sorts of levers they can pull without appearing to pull anything.
And what happens to historians and journalists like yourself who really dig into the royal family?
The royal roadshow has to be looked at. I mean, I know, for example, the foreign press people feel very annoyed being outside it. A lot of people chose not to be part of it. I think the Independent, for example, with the parliamentary lobby, decided not to be part of it. So I think the royal roadshow is breaking up. I think those levers are no longer as effective. I think one of the interesting things since my book has come out in August is that the press are slightly more emboldened. I think one of the reasons that Andrew was stripped of his titles is the sort of drip feed of material, particularly from the Mail on Sunday, but other papers who were writing some pretty critical things that had not been, they wouldn't have done, I think, 6 months ago. So I hope that journalists and writers will take this as an indication that they can be slightly more. They can, I suppose, offer a bit more scrutiny, and they will get away with it. The public mood wants this. I mean, Trump came to power in the States saying he would clear the swamp, and then it turned out that he was part of the problem and didn't want to clear the swamp. But I think there is a real feeling here that they do want the swamp cleared, that there's no longer the same trust in institutions, whether it's the intelligence services, the police, the civil service, politicians, all these things that we kind of thought were behaved properly and in the interests of our democracy, find it's corrupted and it's all jobs to the boys. And I think people are finding they've had enough of that, and they want to see proper scrutiny and transparency. So I'm hoping we're at the beginning of a new age.
Well, going after these top royals, powerful people and institutions, does it ever make you fear for your own safety? Are you walking down the road and thinking, is that person following me?
No, I think that, no, I don't. I mean, I think I'm perfectly safe. But I mean, certainly my reputation has been trashed. That's what they do. They try and get you financially or in terms of your reputation. And that is, of course, very sort of worrying, because it's very difficult when mud's thrown. Some of it sticks. There's no smoke without fire, and so all sorts of wild allegations, are thrown out at me on Twitter. Problem is, Twitter won't shut them down. The police won't do anything. The cost of suing these people is so enormous, and the likelihood of actually getting any money out of them. So one has to just sit and bear it. But in some ways, I believe in free speech. I mean, I've written this warts and all biography. I have to expect that I'm going to get some brickbats myself.
Do you think you could make a sequel to this?
Yes, I think that may be the most likely option, a quick sequel called Untitled.
Fantastic.
And take the story on, because so much has happened even in the last 2 months.
Andrew